The mahogany conference table gleamed under the fluorescent lights of Henderson and Associates law firm. I sat at the far end, my hands folded calmly over my worn leather purse, watching my daughter Madison's perfectly manicured fingers drum impatiently on the polished wood. "This is ridiculous," she hissed to her husband Brandon, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Why does she even need to be here? This is about the trust fund, not about domestic arrangements." Her friends, the ones she'd invited to film content for her lifestyle channel, giggled behind their phones. Even now, even here, they were recording. Always recording. Mr. Henderson, a silver-haired man in his 60s, cleared his throat. "Ms. Chen, as I explained on the phone, your mother's presence is required for this meeting. But I don't understand why." Madison started. "You will." I spoke for the first time, my voice quiet but steady. She turned to look at me, her eyes narrowing with that familiar mixture of irritation and dismissal. The same look she'd given me yesterday when the video went viral. When 3 million people watched her laugh, zoom in on my face, and call me the maid who thinks she's family. The same look she'd given me for the past 5 years. Mr. Henderson opened a folder, and I watched the color begin to drain from Madison's face. "Shall we begin?" I asked softly. But to understand how we got here, to this moment of reckoning in a lawyer's office, you need to know how far I'd fallen in my own daughter's eyes. You need to know about the sacrifices I made, and the woman she became when she forgot where she came from. Let me take you back to where this really started. Back to when I still believed that unconditional love was always enough. 5 years earlier, I was still Margaret Chen, the woman who'd built a small empire from nothing. My late husband David and I had started with a food truck in San Francisco's Mission District 30 years ago. While he worked the grill, I managed the books, handled suppliers, and somehow found time to raise Madison and her older brother James. David died when Madison was 17, a heart attack that came without warning, leaving me with 2 teenagers and a business that had grown into 3 successful restaurants. I learned to be both mother and father, both chef and CEO. I learned to be enough for everyone, even when I wasn't sure I was enough for myself. James, my oldest, understood struggle. He'd worked in the restaurants since he was 14, knew the weight of responsibility. But Madison, she'd been younger when we found success. She'd known comfort more than sacrifice, private school more than public hustle. "Mom, everyone at Wellington Academy has a Range Rover," she'd complained when she was 18. "Why do I have to drive a Honda?" "Because that Honda is paid for," I'd told her. "And because you need to understand the difference between having money and being smart with it." She'd rolled her eyes, but she'd driven the Honda. At least until she went to college. USC changed her. Or maybe it just revealed what had been growing all along. She fell in with a crowd of influencers and trust fund kids who measured worth in followers and designer labels. She started a lifestyle YouTube channel called Madison's Modern Life, aspirational content for young women who wanted to have it all. The irony was, she didn't have it all. She had me. I paid for her apartment in Santa Monica. I covered her sorority dues, her spring breaks in Cabo, her monthly shopping trips to Rodeo Drive. When she graduated with a degree in communications and no job prospects, I kept the money flowing. "I'm building my brand, Mom," she'd explain whenever I gently suggested she might want a backup plan. "You can't put a price on authentic content creation." But I was putting a price on it, $8,000 a month, not counting the emergencies. Meanwhile, I sold 2 of my 3 restaurants. The industry was changing, and at 55, I was tired. I kept the original location, Chen's Kitchen, the one David and I had built together, and I simplified my life. I bought a modest condo in the Sunset District with a mortgage I could afford, invested wisely, and looked forward to a quieter chapter. But quiet wasn't what Madison had in mind. "Mom, I need you to come stay with me for a few months," she'd called one evening last year. "Brandon and I just bought the house in Manhattan Beach, and with my content schedule, I really need help getting settled." Brandon was the boyfriend turned fiancé turned husband, a wannabe entrepreneur who'd been between ventures for the 3 years I'd known him. He smiled a lot and contributed little, but Madison loved him, so I tried to be supportive. "Help how?" I'd asked carefully. "You know, organizing, maybe some cooking, handling the contractors." You're so good at that stuff, and I'm drowning here. So I went. For a few weeks that became a few months that became a year. I coordinated the renovations on their 4,000 square foot house. I cooked meals for their dinner parties. I organized Madison's closet, picked up her dry cleaning, and somehow became the person who made sure their lives ran smoothly. You're a lifesaver, Mom, Madison would say, breezing past me with her ring light and camera. I don't know what I'd do without you. But she never said it on camera. On camera, I was background noise, or worse, invisible. Until I wasn't. James visited once during that year, taking in the scene with increasingly troubled eyes. Mom, why are you living like this? He asked quietly while Madison was out filming a beach yoga session. This isn't right. She needs me, I said simply. No, he corrected. She's using you. I didn't want to believe him. But I'd started to notice things. How Madison introduced me at parties. This is Margaret, she's helping us out. Never this is my mother. How she'd started referring to household tasks as Mom's job. How she'd snap her fingers when she needed something, like I was staff. How she'd stopped saying thank you. The final transformation was so gradual I almost didn't notice it happening. One day I was her mother helping out during a difficult time. The next, I was the help who happened to share her DNA. But I still believed in her. I still believed that beneath the entitled exterior was the little girl who used to help me prep vegetables in the restaurant kitchen, who used to tell me I was her hero. I still believed that love was enough. I was in the kitchen making lunch, honey-glazed salmon with asparagus, Madison's favorite, when my phone began buzzing. James. Then my sister. Then numbers I didn't recognize. Mom, are you okay? James's voice was tight with anger when I answered. I'm fine, honey. What's wrong? You haven't seen it yet. He didn't ask. He knew. Mom, sit down. He sent me the link. The video was titled, A Day in the Life, Managing Our Dream Home. It had been posted 6 hours ago and already had 400,000 views. I clicked play with trembling fingers. Madison's face filled the screen, glossy and perfect, as she walked through her morning routine in her beautiful home. The comments were already flooding in. Goals. Living my dream life. You're so blessed. Then, around the 3-minute mark, the camera panned to the kitchen. To me. I was wearing an old apron, my hair in a simple bun, chopping vegetables. I looked tired. I looked small. And this, Madison's voice was bright and cheerful, is Margaret. She keeps everything running smoothly around here. Honestly, I don't know what we'd do without our Mary Poppins. She laughed, a tinkling sound that her followers loved. She's practically part of the furniture now. The camera zoomed in on my face. I hadn't known she was filming. I looked startled, uncomfortable. Actually, I heard myself say quietly, I'm her mother. But Madison had already panned away, the audio cutting off. Anyway, she makes the most amazing meals. It's like having a personal chef. The next part made my stomach clench. They were hosting one of their dinner parties, the one from 2 weeks ago. I'd spent all day preparing a 5-course meal for 8 people. In the video, Madison and Brandon and their friends sat around the table I'd set, eating food I'd cooked, laughing and toasting. The camera caught me in the background, clearing plates. More wine, Margaret, one of Madison's friends called out, not even looking at me. Is she the maid? Another voice asked, just audible. Might as well be. I heard Brandon laugh. She does everything around here. Madison's giggle followed. Oh my God, stop. She can probably hear you. But she didn't correct them. She didn't say that's my mother. She just laughed. The video continued, showing Madison's perfect life, yoga at sunrise, shopping trips, content creation. In every scene where I appeared, I was reduced to a function. The woman who made smoothies, who organized closets, who kept the house running. The woman who was never named as family. The comments were starting to roll in. Wait, is that her mom? Imagine treating your own mother like a servant. This is actually really sad. Privileged much. But just as many were worse, smart. Free help. I wish I had a Mary Poppins. #life goals. My hands shook as I set the phone down. The salmon was burning. I turned off the stove and just stood there, staring at nothing. Madison came home an hour later, bouncing through the door with shopping bags and Brandon trailing behind. Mom, did you see? The video's already at 500,000 views. It's my best performing content this month. She was radiant, triumphant. Madison. My voice came out hoarse. I need to talk to you. Sure, but make it quick. I have a brand call in 20 minutes. She was checking her phone, scrolling through comments. You called me the maid in your video. What? She looked up, confused. No, I didn't. I called you Mary Poppins. It's a compliment. You didn't tell them I was your mother. Mom, God, you're being so sensitive. She rolled her eyes. It's just content. Nobody cares about the details. I care, Madison. You let them think I was hired help. Does it really matter? She was getting annoyed now. You're doing the same stuff anyway. Why does the label matter? The words hit me like a physical blow. You're doing the same stuff anyway. Because I'm your mother, I said quietly. Exactly. Which is why you should be happy to help me. That's what mothers do, right? She smiled, like she'd made a perfectly reasonable point. Now, did you pick up my prescription? And we need groceries. I'm thinking Italian for dinner tomorrow. We're having the Hendersons over and I really need this collaboration to work. She walked past me, already on her phone, already moving on to the next thing. Brandon at least had the grace to look uncomfortable. Margaret, she didn't mean anything by it. You know how Madison gets when she's focused on content. But that was the problem. I did know. I knew exactly who my daughter had become. That night, James called again. Pack your things, he said. I'm driving down tomorrow to get you. James. Mom, please. You deserve better than this. She's not going to change. And you staying there is just enabling her to treat you like this. I looked around the bedroom Madison had given me, the smallest one in the house, the only one without an in-suite bathroom. I decorated it myself with thrift store finds because Madison said the renovation budget was tapped out, while ordering a $5,000 chandelier for the dining room. I need to think, I told James. But I already knew. Somewhere between the burning salmon and my daughter's casual cruelty, something inside me had shifted. They had no idea what was coming. Because Madison didn't know that the restaurants I'd sold had made me wealthy, truly wealthy. She didn't know about the investment portfolio David and I had built, or the trust fund he'd set up before he died. She didn't know about the properties I owned, the quiet fortune I'd accumulated through 3 decades of hard work and smart decisions. She thought I was desperate. She thought I needed her. She was about to learn the truth. And the lesson was going to cost her everything. I left the next morning while Madison was at her Pilates class. James helped me pack my things, which took only an hour because I'd never really unpacked my life into that house. Everything I valued still fit in 3 suitcases and 2 boxes. Where do you want to go? James asked as we loaded his car. Home, I said. My real home. My condo in the Sunset District welcomed me back like an old friend. The moment I walked through the door and saw my own furniture, my photographs on the walls, my view of the Pacific, I felt like I could breathe again. Madison didn't notice I was gone for 3 days. When she finally called, her voice was irritated, not concerned. Mom, where are you? I have an important dinner tonight and we're out of your special sauce, and I can't figure out where you keep the good serving dishes. I'm at my place, Madison. What? Why? When are you coming back? I'm not. Silence. Then, what do you mean you're not? Mom, I need you here. Brandon's parents are visiting next week, and you know how stressful that is. Madison, I'm not your housekeeper. Oh my God, is this about the video? She sounded exasperated. I took it down, okay? People were being so weird about it. Are you happy now? She'd taken it down. Not because she understood she'd hurt me, but because the backlash was affecting her brand. This isn't about the video, I said quietly. This is about who you've become. And who I've let myself become by enabling you. Enabling me? Mom, you're being dramatic. I'm your daughter. I thought you wanted to help me. I did. I do. But Madison, you don't need help. You need to learn to help yourself. So what, you're just abandoning me? That's real nice, Mom. Real maternal. The irony of her words would have been funny if they weren't so painful. I love you, I said. But I'm done being invisible in your life. I'm done being taken for granted. When you're ready to treat me like your mother instead of your staff, call me. I hung up. My phone exploded with texts. Angry at first, then manipulative, then briefly apologetic, then angry again. I turned off my notifications. James came over that evening with Thai food and wine. Proud of you, Mom, he said, raising his glass. I should have done it sooner. Maybe. But you did it now. That's what matters. Over the next 2 weeks, I focused on rebuilding my life. I had coffee with old friends I'd neglected. I went to yoga classes for myself, not to photograph them. I spent time at Chen's kitchen, reminded myself of who I was before I became defined by my daughter's needs. And quietly, I met with Mr. Henderson. David's trust fund had been set up with specific conditions. Madison would receive access to the principal $2.3 million when she turned 30, which was in 3 months. It was meant to give her security, to honor her father's love for her. But there was a clause David had insisted on, one he'd made me promise to enforce. The inheritance was contingent on Madison demonstrating financial responsibility and mature judgment. Your husband was very specific, Mr. Henderson explained. He wanted to make sure Madison was ready for this responsibility. He trusted you to make that determination. I looked at the documents spread across his desk. At David's signature, still strong and confident even though he'd known he had a heart condition. He'd been thinking about our children's futures even then. What are my options? I asked. Mr. Henderson outlined them. I could release the funds as planned. Or I could invoke the responsibility clause and delay the inheritance, requiring Madison to meet certain conditions first: steady employment, financial education, proof of budgeting skills. It's not about punishing her, I said slowly. It's about teaching her. Your husband believed in second chances, Mr. Henderson said gently. But he also believed in accountability. I made my decision. Meanwhile, Madison's situation was unraveling faster than she realized. Without me subsidizing her life, reality was setting in. The $8,000 monthly allowance I'd been providing stopped. Her credit card, the one I'd been paying off, reached its limit. James reported back to me. He still had coffee with his sister occasionally. She's panicking, Mom. She thought you'd come back after a week. She didn't realize how much you were covering. How much is she short? The mortgage on that house is $8,500 a month. Brandon's consulting businesses brings in maybe $2,000. Her YouTube revenue is about $3,000 on a good month, but it's been dropping since the video scandal. The math was brutal. They were at least $3,500 short every month, and that was before food, cars, utilities, and Madison's shopping habit. She'll figure it out, I said, though my heart ached. 2 weeks before her birthday, Madison called again. Her voice was different, smaller, scared. Mom, I need to talk to you about money. I'm listening. Brandon and we're having trouble making the mortgage. I thought maybe you could help, just until my trust fund comes through. It's only a couple more weeks. Madison, I'm not giving you any more money. But I'm getting the trust fund. You can consider it a loan. This was the moment. The moment where I could enable her one more time, or hold firm. About the trust fund, I said carefully. We need to talk. You'll need to come to Mr. Henderson's office. Next Thursday at 2 p.m. What? Why? Can't you just transfer it to my account? No, Madison. I can't. You'll understand when you get there. Is this some kind of punishment? Are you seriously going to make me jump through hoops for my own money? It's not your money yet, I said quietly. And whether it becomes your money depends on you. What the hell does that mean? Thursday at 2 p.m. Mr. Henderson's office. Don't be late. I hung up, my hands shaking but my resolve firm. The confrontation was coming. And this time, I wouldn't be invisible. This time, everyone would see exactly who I was. Madison arrived at Mr. Henderson's office 15 minutes late, Brandon trailing behind her. She'd dressed for the occasion, designer dress, fresh blowout, perfect makeup. The armor of someone who still believed she held all the cards. Her eyes went wide when she saw me sitting at the conference table. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "I was invited," I said calmly. "Sit down, Madison." She looked at Mr. Henderson, confused. "I don't understand. This is about my trust fund. Why does she need to be?" "Your mother is the trustee," Mr. Henderson explained. "She has final approval on the distribution of your inheritance." Madison's face went pale, then flushed with anger. "What? No. Dad left that money to me." "Your father," I said quietly, "left that money in trust for you, with conditions." "What conditions?" "Nobody told me about conditions." Mr. Henderson opened the folder in front of him. "Your father's will states that the principal becomes available when you turn 30, provided you have demonstrated, and I quote, financial responsibility and mature judgment. The trustee has discretion to determine whether these conditions have been met." Madison looked at me, her eyes narrowing. "This is about the video. You're seriously going to punish me over one stupid video?" "This is about the past 5 years," I said. "This is about spending $8,000 every month of my money while treating me like hired help. This is about buying a house you can't afford and expecting me to subsidize your lifestyle. This is about who you've become. I'm your daughter." Her voice rose. "You're supposed to support me. I did support you. For 30 years. But support doesn't mean enabling you to avoid responsibility." Brandon cleared his throat. "Mrs. Chen, with all due respect, Madison was counting on this money. We've made financial commitments based on money that wasn't yours yet," I interrupted. "Money you assumed would come without strings attached." Madison's perfectly made-up eyes filled with tears. "So what are you saying? You're not going to give me my inheritance?" "I'm saying," I took a breath, "that you need to prove you're ready for it." Mr. Henderson pulled out another document. "Mrs. Chen has proposed the following conditions for release of the trust fund. 1. You must maintain steady employment for 6 months, earning at least $3,000 per month through your own labor. 2. You must complete a financial management course. 3. You must live within a budget that doesn't include your mother's financial support." "This is insane." Madison shot to her feet. "You can't do this." "Actually," Mr. Henderson said mildly, "she can. Your father gave her complete discretion as trustee." "Dad would never," Madison's voice broke. "He loved me. He wouldn't want this." I stood, meeting her eyes directly. "Your father loved you enough to make sure you learned to stand on your own 2 feet. He watched you growing up with privilege he never had, and he worried. He worried you'd never understand the value of work, of sacrifice, of earning what you have. So you're doing this to teach me a lesson?" Madison's tears were angry now. "Like I'm a child?" "No, Madison. I'm doing this because you're not a child. You're 30 years old. You're married. You own a house. And somewhere along the way, you forgot that all of those things come with responsibility. I can't believe you're doing this to me. After everything." "After everything?" My voice rose for the first time. "Madison, I spent a year of my life in your home. I cooked every meal, organized every detail, made your life possible while you built your brand. And you introduced me at parties as the help. You filmed me without my permission. You let strangers believe I was your maid. I apologized for that. No, you took down the video because it was hurting your engagement numbers. That's not an apology." The room fell silent. Brandon was staring at the floor. Mr. Henderson looked uncomfortable but unsurprised. He'd probably seen this drama play out in countless families. Madison sank back into her chair, her composure cracking. "So what am I supposed to do? Lose the house? Lose everything?" "You're supposed to make choices," I said quietly. "You can sell the house and downsize to something you can afford. You can get a job, a real job, not just content creation. You can learn to budget, to save, to build a life that isn't dependent on other people's money. This is so unfair." Her voice was small now, defeated. What's unfair, I said, is that I let it go on this long. What's unfair is that I made it so easy for you that you never had to learn. That's on me, Madison. But I'm fixing it now. I turned to Mr. Henderson. The conditions stand. 6 months of steady employment, financial course completion, living within her means. When she meets those conditions, the trust fund will be released in full. And if I refuse? Madison's voice was bitter. Then you wait until you're 35, Mr. Henderson said. That's the alternate provision in the will. If the conditions aren't met by age 30, the inheritance is locked until age 35. Madison looked at me with something I hadn't seen in years, genuine fear. Not fear of me, but fear of consequences. Fear of having to face reality without a safety net. I have to go, I said, gathering my purse. James is waiting for me. We're having dinner. James knows about this. Madison's voice rose again. He agrees with you. Your brother has been working since he was 14. He put himself through college while working full-time at the restaurant. He built a good life through his own effort. Yes, Madison. He agrees with me. I walked to the door, then paused. I love you. I've always loved you. But love doesn't mean protecting you from the consequences of your choices. Your father knew that. It's time I remembered it too. As I left the office, I heard Madison's sobs echoing down the hallway. It was the sound of entitlement meeting reality. And as much as it hurt, I knew it was necessary. The next 48 hours were chaos. Madison's Instagram stories were a masterclass in victimhood, cryptic quotes about toxic family members, photos of her crying, still somehow perfectly lit, and vague references to betrayal when you least expect it. Her followers ate it up. The comments were a mix of blind support and growing skepticism. Whatever it is, you got this girl. Family should support each other crying face, but also, is this about your mom? Maybe there are two sides to this story. The video is still cached online, by the way. The backlash video, the one she'd deleted, had been saved and reshared across Reddit and Twitter. People were connecting the dots. The lifestyle influencer who'd treated her mother like staff was now playing the victim when facing consequences. James forwarded me some of the threads. You might want to see this. Public opinion is interesting. One Reddit post had 15,000 upvotes. Influencer who called her mom the maid is upset her inheritance has conditions. The entitlement is unreal. But I didn't take satisfaction in Madison's public humiliation. I remembered being 30, remembered thinking I knew everything. The difference was, I'd had to learn my lessons the hard way because I had no safety net. I'd been trying to give Madison the safety net I never had. Instead, I'd built her a prison of comfort. On day 3, my phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Chen? This is Sarah Kaufman from the Manhattan Beach Real Estate Group. I'm calling because Madison Torres listed her property with us yesterday. She mentioned you as a family reference. My stomach dropped. She's selling the house. Yes, It's a beautiful property, but given the current market and their mortgage position, they're going to take a loss. I wanted to verify, is she authorized to make this decision? There's no lien or family trust involved. No, I said. The house is in her and her husband's names. She can sell it. All right then. I'll proceed. She seemed quite distressed, so I wanted to make sure everything was above board. After we hung up, I sat staring at my phone. She was selling the house. She was actually doing it. That evening, Madison called me. Her voice was different, no anger, no manipulation. Just exhaustion. Mom, can we talk? I'm listening. The house is on the market. We found a 2-bedroom apartment in Hawthorne. It's $2,400 a month, which Brandon and I can cover if I pick up more sponsored content and he actually follows through on his job applications. I waited. There was more coming. I also enrolled in that financial management course. It starts next week. Online, twice a week for 8 weeks. She paused. I looked at some job postings too. There's a social media coordinator position at a marketing agency. I applied. That's good, Madison. I hate this, she said, her voice cracking. I hate that you're making me do this. I hate that everyone online is talking about me like I'm some spoiled brat. I hate that I have to sell my house and move into a shitty apartment and get a real job like I'm 22 again. I know. But. She took a shaky breath. I looked at my credit card statements last night. All of them. I didn't realize how much. I spent $3,000 at Sephora last month, Mom. $3,000 on makeup and skincare. I don't even use half of it. It just made me feel good to buy it. This was the first crack in the armor. The first moment of actual self-awareness. I was watching one of my old videos, she continued. From 3 years ago, when I was still working at the gallery and doing YouTube on the side. I was happy, Mom. Like, actually happy. Not performing happiness for the camera. And I looked at my face in that video, and then I looked at my face now, and I don't even recognize myself. Madison. I'm not asking you to change your mind about the trust fund. I know I screwed up. I know I treated you terribly. That video, God, Mom, I watched it again. Really watched it. And I saw what everyone else saw. I saw how I looked at you. How I talked about you. And I'm so ashamed. I felt tears on my own cheeks now. I forgive you. How? How can you forgive me so easily? Because you're my daughter. And because you're finally seeing what I've been trying to show you. You don't need the trust fund, Madison. You don't need the big house or the designer clothes or the perfect Instagram life. You need to know who you are without all of that. I'm scared, she whispered. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? Then you fail. And then you try again. That's what real life is, sweetheart. It's not a curated feed. It's messy and hard and sometimes you fall on your face. But you get up. And you keep going. Silence. Then, I need to tell you something. Brandon and I are probably going to separate. Oh, Madison. He's not who I thought he was. Or maybe I'm finally seeing who he really is. He's been trying to convince me to fight you legally for the trust fund. He wants to sue you. And when I said no, he called me stupid. He said I was throwing away millions because I was too emotional about mommy issues. Good. Let the deadweight go. I'm sorry, I said instead. I'm not. Not really. I think I just wanted someone who fit the image I was trying to project. Successful, attractive, entrepreneurial. She laughed bitterly. Turns out, none of us were who we pretended to be. Madison, can I see you? Maybe we could have coffee this weekend. I'd like that. Her voice brightened slightly. But I'm paying. With my own money. Not a credit card you're paying off. Deal. After we hung up, I called James. She's going to be okay, I told him. How do you know? Because she's scared. And she's ashamed. And she's starting to face reality. That's the first step. Mom, you did the right thing. I hope so, James. I really hope so. 6 months later, I stood in the parking lot of a small marketing agency in Culver City, watching Madison walk out of her office building. She'd cut her hair shorter, more practical, less influencer. She was wearing black slacks and a simple blouse, carrying a worn tote bag instead of her usual designer purse. She looked tired, but there was something different about her expression. She looked real. Sorry, she said, jogging over. My meeting ran late. Client wanted to discuss Q4 strategy and I'm leading the presentation next week. You got the promotion? Associate Director of Social Media. She grinned. It comes with a $4,000 raise. I'm actually going to start saving money, Mom. Real savings, not just whatever was left over after shopping. We drove to a restaurant in Santa Monica, Chen's Kitchen, the one I still owned. My staff greeted Madison warmly. They remembered her from when she was young, before the transformation. The shrimp dumplings are still perfect, she said after the first bite. I've missed this place. You were always welcome here. I know. I couldn't face it. Or you. Or James. Or anyone who remembered who I used to be before I became that person in the video. Over lunch, she told me about her life. The apartment she shared with 2 roommates now, Brandon had moved back to his parents' house in Arizona. The budgeting app she used religiously. The therapy she'd started. The YouTube channel she'd deleted entirely. I thought I'd miss it, she admitted. The followers, the comments, the validation. But mostly I'm relieved. It was exhausting, Mom. Performing all the time. Making sure every angle was perfect, every moment was content-worthy. I forgot how to just live. What do you do now? I asked. For fun, I mean. I joined a book club. Real people, in person, sitting in someone's living room talking about books. No phones allowed during discussion. She laughed. It's so normal it's weird. But I love it. She pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. I wanted to show you these. Inside were certificates, financial management course completion, 6 months of pay stubs from her job, a printed budget spreadsheet showing her income, expenses, and a small but growing savings account. I met the conditions, she said quietly. Not because I had to. But because I wanted to show you that I can do this. That I'm not that person anymore. I looked at the documents, then at my daughter. I'm proud of you, Madison. I still have a long way to go. I still catch myself wanting to buy things I don't need, or comparing myself to people on Instagram, or caring too much about what strangers think. But I'm working on it. That's all any of us can do. Mom. She reached across the table, taking my hand. Thank you. For not giving up on me. And for loving me enough to let me fall. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than building 3 restaurants from nothing? So much harder. We talked for hours, making up for months of distance. James joined us for dessert, and for the first time in years, it felt like family again. Real family, not performance or obligation, but genuine connection. As we were leaving, Madison paused. I have something else to tell you. I'm making a video. One last video. My heart sank. Madison. Not like before, she said quickly. It's an apology. A real one. To you, to everyone who watched that video and thought I was doing something okay. To other people who might be treating their parents or family members the same way. I'm calling it the person I'm not proud of being. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Because people like me, we're out there, Mom. Taking advantage of people who love us, performing our perfect lives while treating the people who made them possible like they're invisible. Someone needs to say it's not okay. Someone needs to show that there are consequences. And that those consequences, as much as they suck, can actually save you. She posted the video 2 days later. No perfect lighting, no editing tricks. Just Madison, sitting in her small apartment, being honest about who she'd been and who she was trying to become. It went viral in a different way than before. Not because it was aspirational or enviable, but because it was real. The comments were different too. This gave me chills. Thank you for your honesty. I needed to hear this. I've been treating my mom the same way. This is what accountability looks like. The trust fund was released on her 30th birthday. I met with her and Mr. Henderson in the same conference room where everything had fallen apart 6 months earlier. The full amount, Mr. Henderson confirmed. $2.3 million, per your father's wishes. Congratulations, Ms. Torres. Madison stared at the documents. It's a lot of money. It is, I agreed. I'm going to invest most of it, she said. Retirement accounts, index funds, the boring stuff you always told me about. Maybe buy a small condo I can actually afford. And I want to donate $100,000 to a financial literacy program for young women. Your father would be proud. I hope so. She signed the papers, then looked at me. I thought this money would change my life. But it turns out, my life changed when I stopped waiting for it. We walked out of the office together, mother and daughter, equals instead of enabler and dependent. I'd thought I lost my daughter to entitlement and social media and the endless pursuit of an image that wasn't real. But in losing everything she thought defined her, Madison had found herself. And in setting boundaries I should have set years ago, I'd reclaimed my own dignity and value. The video had shown the world my daughter's worst moment. But this moment, this real, imperfect, honest moment, was her best. And that was worth more than any viral video could ever be.